So great to meet you, Neil. I don't think we've
Ethel?
met up in person for quite a while, but I know you're in our live talk group on Facebook, which is absolutely fantastic. And that must be, I don't know how often you're in the group, but from your point of view, must be quite interesting, as it is for me, to get an overview, a sort of helicopter view of what's going on across the profession or industry, whatever you want to call it. Lots of technical stuff, and something that really surprises me is how little talk there is about change in the profession. Yet we have the biggest bit of change going on right under our nose right now in the shape of AI. And I look at advisors, and some are going, oh, I'll pay attention when AI arrives in a couple of years' time. Some are just nonplussed by it altogether, don't want to pay any attention to it at all. Some are really excited and even building their own agents and what have you. And we're starting to see signs of some getting nervous, which is quite interesting. So I think AI would be a good place to start, particularly in the context of what you're doing. Um, to what extent are you seeing what's going on when it comes to AI and financial advisors?
Well, I would certainly echo that it's a phrase I hear an awful lot. People do want to talk about AI. I actually did a video on this not so long back. My thoughts are it depends which section of the market you're talking about. I always advocate that really there's three types of financial advisor stroke planner. There are financial advisors who provide financial advice, transactional, probably in isolation on pensions and investments.
Yeah,
Then you have financial planners who will build cash flow models and financial plans and then subsequently transact any relevant investment or pension
yeah,
recommendations. And then you have lifestyle financial planners who will start with life coaching and life planning first, then move on to the financial planning and develop the financial plan with the cash flow modeling, and then put in place any transactions. So if you split between those three, and when we talk specifically about I think the financial advice section of that is most at risk, if that's the angle that we're
hmm,
coming at it from. Because if you're a financial advisor, your main selling point is technical. You are a walking textbook. You
yes,
can answer questions, you can do tax calculations, and that is all stuff that's perfectly in the zone of AI.
yeah,
That can do that
yeah,
all day long. Whether clients will trust that is a different matter, because clients often like a human eyeball over it as well. But I think the world will move that way for the financial advice. For financial planning, where you're also building the cash flow models, I think there's a moderate risk because AI can probably start to, not now, but I think in a few years it will start to be able to
yeah,
do that. And but again, people are less likely to make life decisions, based on output from a computer. And the final tranche, if you're a lifestyle financial planner, I think you're pretty well protected because that's all about the human element, the
yes,
human conversations. That's about working with your clients to establish, what are the ideal life outcomes you're trying to achieve. But as you're doing that, you're looking for the nuance, you're looking for the raised eyebrow, the crossed arms, you're looking for the client's reactions, and then you're going to go and dig a little bit further and you dig a bit over here. And that's stuff that AI can't really do, because it can't tell whether the answer that you've given it makes sense or is true, whereas a human being gets a sense sometimes of
yeah,
hang about this.
yeah,
So that's where you add the value. So I think if we use the term profession, because I prefer profession to industry, if you're in the profession in any of those three roles, I think when we talk about change, I think the market will move for financial advisors towards that third, the lifestyle financial planner, because that's where the human value is. That will survive.
yeah, yeah.
And the more transactional end I think, will have chunks taken out of it by
Yeah, I
AI.
think I think you've nailed it. To me, one of the last big bits of change, although many advisors haven't yet grasped this yet, was actually the introduction of life planning, lifestyle financial planning. I remember when George Kinder set foot in the UK, and he started going around the country talking to advisors. And interestingly, Maria Nemeth, who I think I've seen you mention, She did some talks as well. But that concept was greeted by some financial advisors as this is it. This is the way we need to go.
Yeah,
And there were others that said, I don't think I want to sit on a beanbag
yeah,
and talk to clients like that. This is way too fluffy for us.
yeah,
But I'm really interested that, and we'll talk about in more depth about your proposition at PlanHappy. But what interests me is that it is based around lifestyle financial planning.
yeah,
I've said for quite a while that I think we're getting to a point for a variety of different reasons where you're going to have some financial advisors with one foot in life coaching and the other foot increasingly in life planning. And a lot of financial advisors don't really thank me for that because using the words life coach to many of them, it just doesn't sit with them.
yeah,
We don't
yeah,
do that.
yeah.
But that's the way it's going. No question about it. So, what is it about life planning, lifestyle financial planning that you've kind of really embodied in your proposition? Why is it the way forward, in other words?
Yeah. So I always use the example of the builders merchants, the engineer and the architect, in that if you're building a house, you don't start at the builders merchants. You don't start wandering around picking up bricks and blocks and saying, "Hey, is this good?" But
Mm.
that's what people do with financial advice. I'll ring a financial advisor and ask if this pension's any good. Is this fund any good? And if you did that at the builders merchants, they would say, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, show me your engineering drawings, and then I'll tell you what products you need." And
Yeah,
if you say, "Well, I don't have any engineering drawings," I say, "Well, you need to go to an engineer and get those done." And that's the financial planning aspect in terms of that cash flow modeling, working out what products are going to be needed to support the plan. But of course, if you go to the engineer and say, "I need some calculations doing and a plan, etc.," and they say, "Great, yeah, no problem, I can do that. What are you building?" And you say, "I don't really know." There's nothing that they can do. So they would send you to the architect and say,
yeah,
"You need to start with the architect." And the architect's job, like the life coach and life planner in the lifestyle financial planning world, is to help you work out what you want the outcome to be in human terms. How do you want to feel? How do you want to be? What does a great day, week, month, year look like in this finished life and lifestyle
yeah,
plan that you're trying to create? And if we establish that first, that sets the framework, the measuring stick, if you like, for the financial planning, and then ultimately the products and such like the builders merchants. So I think bringing those together into one service and accepting that it is really one service. You can't build a house with only two out of those three components.
yeah,
You kind of got to have all three. And what I've done over the years is build the how. You mentioned it there that well, it's probably what 20 odd years ago, maybe even 30 years ago, when the likes of George Kinder first started, introducing the concept, and then many other people followed. But it's been talked about for a long time, and there's a lot of people who understand why they should be doing it. Yeah, they hear the presentation or they listen to it and think, absolutely, that sounds fantastic. I'm inspired to do that. But then they go back to their office and their whole business model is factored around financial advice, transactions, products. Their software is talking about products and transactions. The FCA talk about products and transactions. Their compliance talk about products and transactions. And very quickly, that inspiration gets beaten to death
yes,
by
yes,
your day-to-day business. So what I've spent over a decade building, and I built it in our own firm first, is an end-to-end process where we thought, well, look, the software is rubbish for lifestyle financial planning because it's all based around products. So let's build our own. So we built the software, and then I built the client process,
yeah,
the meeting structure, the client report, so that you're not talking great human stuff with a client and then going in with a 50-page mind-numbing
yeah,
super report full of numbers. So we built an entire ecosystem operating model, if you like,
yeah.
for lifestyle financial planning. And I think there's a lot more people now who want the how. They're like, okay, yeah, show me how I can do this in real life and make money from it,
Yeah, yeah.
um, and PlanHappy is about providing that full infrastructure.
I saw a video, maybe on your website, where you talked about a while back you went to see a client. They had an issue around their investments or something, and the crux of it was they're worried how long until we can retire. A lot of people won't have seen that. Can you just sort of go through that story? And it'd be interesting in the light of now people using lifestyle financial planning, how you might have changed that meeting or done that meeting differently.
Yeah, I think when you're referring to it, I think the question I was asked was, when did the light bulb go on for me in my um, lifestyle financial planning
Yes,
journey?
yes.
And it was many, many years ago. And I was a traditional financial advisor doing what we do. You go and see the clients and you talk about pensions and investments and blah, blah, blah. And a client had asked me a question whilst I was in the, I think, can I retire? When can I retire? And so I went to it and I started thinking, okay, well, let's try and answer that question, and started fumbling around and realizing, well, I can't answer that unless I know what they need in order. What does retirement look like?
Yes, yes, yes.
And I kind of went back and we started talking more about that. And I realized that the whole conversation just changed once you started taking an interest in them as human beings.
Hmm.
Everybody bought in because there were a couple, and it was one of those situations where I think it was the gentleman was very engaged because he felt it was a technical, and he was quite a technical kind of guy.
Mhm.
And I think his wife was probably there under duress of, you've got to see the pension guy type thing. And I remember when we started talking about the human aspect behind it, that she lit up, she became engaged.
Mhm.
And actually, she then became the decision maker in that in that couple of what
Yeah,
we were doing.
yeah.
But anyway, to cut a long story short, I started working out, well, when can you retire, etc. And I went back to see them, and I remember the conversation distinctly because they'd had a financial advisor for many, many years. They'd had several
Right.
that between them had done various transactions for them. They had quite a bit of pensions and investments and such like. And I went back, and the conversation was, we've been through everything, done some cash flow modeling. It's quite rudimentary at the time, but and I've got the answer of when you can retire. And the gentleman was, fantastic. I said, well, there's two answers I can give you. I said, the first answer I'm going to give you is that you can retire now. And the relief in the room was palpable. That sense of comfort that it gave them, and opened up a whole other conversation.
Hmm.
And then from later on, he said to me, well, what was the second answer? I said, you might not want to hear the second answer. And he said, well, what was it? I said, 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And at that moment, it was a bittersweet, moment for everybody. But what I realized at that point was, I thought that these people have been seen by plenty of financial advisors during that period,
Yeah.
and all of them have transacted business with them to
Yeah.
some degree.
Yeah.
Not one of them has asked the question. And I'm not holding myself above those guys. I hadn't asked the question when I first went to see them. I just kind of fumbled my way into that, and then
Yeah.
realized,
Yeah.
Jesus, this is the question we should have been asking. So that was the point that I realized that I'd added all this value to their lives, but I hadn't sold them a product. I hadn't switched a fund. I hadn't done anything transactional. There wasn't even a suitability report required.
Sure.
It was just that warmth and comfort that, yes, you've got enough, and the ability to portray it in a way where it made sense and they could believe it. Because you can't just say it. People aren't just going to retire because you say you can. You've got to show them, prove it to them, and get that warmth and comfort into them. So yeah, that was a definite moment for me.
Are you seeing an inexorable move towards lifestyle financial planning?
Yeah. It's been
Even, and
unfortunate.
I mean, guess you wouldn't have, sorry to interrupt, you wouldn't come up with your new proposition, but even within regular, perfectly good financial advisors who are employed, they follow the process that we talked about. People like that are beginning to get a little bit frustrated that there's more to this.
Yeah, it's really funny actually, because obviously we spend a lot of time talking to people who come to us because they think they're going on their own, and that's the area that we specialize in. And it's amazing how many of them are working within an existing firm.
Yeah.
There's 4 or 5 advisors there, and this particular individual has seen the light, and they want to do financial planning or lifestyle financial planning, but they feel as though they're not able to because the rest of the firm doesn't see it, doesn't want to do it, so therefore there's no infrastructure. So that's, they start looking, right? It's quite rare that an entire firm just decides it. These are individual decisions that individual advisors make. And so yes, we get a lot of inquiries from people in that position. And strangely enough, because I always thought, as I got older myself, throughout my career, that I thought that by now it would now be the younger generations, I always get the phrases mixed up, the labels, so I won't use them. But
One of the
guys in their,
gens.
yeah, the people in their maybe 30s now, late 20s, early 30s, you would think, oh, maybe they're the more progressive that would be more into it, and the old crusty guys like us, do you know what I mean, are stuck in their ways. But it's not. It's very even across the board.
Right, right.
Just been speaking to I think he's 73. I won't mention his name, but a 73-year-old who's interested in pivoting towards lifestyle financial planning, which is great to hear. So it really does cut across
Interesting. Yeah.
the whole profession. Yeah, absolutely.
That's really interesting. We see this in Life Talk all the time in terms of the questions that people ask, and quite often the anonymous questions are the ones where, I'm thinking of making a change, or what do people think about XYZ network, or should I do this, should I do the other? So you've got a solution for that.
Yeah. So PlanHappy, like I said, I was inspired to kind of create a business in a box, effectively, for somebody who wants to go on their own, have their own business, have their own clients, but deliver fantastic lifestyle financial planning.
Yeah.
So what we do is we offer them the opportunity to do so. We're not a network. People come on, they're directly authorized, and we assist them through the FCA authorization process and the business plan and all that kind of stuff. That's all taken care of. And then once they're onboarded, they have at their disposal a full life cycle, if you like, for the lifestyle financial planning process. So we give you marketing support to help you find the clients, because we've been doing it for 25 years. We know how to find clients. We know what works. We know what doesn't. So we do that, and we don't provide leads directly, but we give you the support and show you what to do, and can help you build a website and all that kind of stuff, and to get the clients ringing up. Then we have a full client process where we walk through, this is what the first meeting should look like, this is how it should work. There's 300 odd videos of me walking them through every single step of every single meeting, of how to explain lifestyle financial planning and take the clients on that journey. We then do all of the discovery work. So we provide physical services in terms of paraplanning, client servicing for the cases. So if you're a financial planner who thinks, you know what, I just want to see the clients. That's I love doing the planning, I love doing the job, but the rest of it, we're perfect for you, because that's all you do. You do the planning, you come out, you write your notes up in the software. It's all specialist built software for the purpose. And then our paraplanners pick that up. They'll do the discovery, they'll chase the providers, they'll get all the information. And we know what information we need, because we're authorized and we're qualified. We know, how to drag that information out.
That is so important. The best advice firms I know are the ones where the advisors or the planners just want to talk to the client. They don't want to do anything else at all.
Absolutely. That's a skill. I don't want my chef working behind the bar. I want them in the kitchen where they do what they love to do. And so we do all the discovery work, and then we have a virtual session with the paraplanner and the planner, where you discuss the case, you review all the discovery. The paraplanner will already have built a base cash flow model. You discuss it, you tweak it, you look at the different scenarios, and then the planner decides which scenarios they want in the planning booklet, which is then produced. You print that off as a planner, and then you deliver your next meeting.
Yeah.
Obviously, in between this, you've done the life coaching meeting, and it guides you through how to do that. So then it moves on. If there's any pensions that perhaps need switching, our power planners will do the switch analysis, provide you everything that you need, and you're just doing those financial planning meetings.
Are these power planners all in-house?
Yes. Yeah. All in-house, all PlanHappy. We don't outsource anything. And the big pitch is, and I've just been talking to some people about our early days, swapping stories about when you first started, what worried you the most. And it was that sense of not knowing anything. You don't know, it's just such a vast, thing. And it's scary going on your own as a financial planner, in any business. And what I would have cut my left arm off for at the time, back in the day, was to be able to pick up the phone to somebody who was doing my job, who'd been there, seen it, done it, got the t-shirt and succeeded, and be able to say, look, can you walk me through this case? I've got this difficult client, or I'm struggling to get over this objection. Can you help me? And that's what PlanHappy provides, because if you join as a partner, you can have access to paraplanners, to financial planners, to marketing, to finance, to compliance, and you can talk to somebody who's actually doing that job there and then, and has real live experience. You're not talking to somebody in a compliance consultancy who knows the theory, but has never actually.
So that's interesting. So we're taking people who are in a traditional firm, following very traditional and set processes.
Yeah.
You're saying you can now have what you've been thinking about, because you know they've been thinking about, I need to get out of this, I need to move on.
Yeah.
They then become business owners. What do you see as the biggest challenges that they will face? And I'll just give you one example. In our Life Talk group, really quite recently, a youngish advisor said that they had had the first 3 meetings with clients where they had generated their own leads, yet they found those meetings quite awkward, a bit clunky, didn't quite know what to say. I'm guessing as part of your proposition, you can really help people with the challenges that you know they're going to face.
Yeah, I started as a one-man band 25 odd years ago, and I remember it distinctly. It's tough, and it took me 10 years, I would say, to become a rounded, as a professional, to have some aplomb about me.
Yeah. It's the confidence, isn't it?
Yeah. And I was 25 when I started as well. So age plays into it a little bit as well, if you're especially dealing with older clients who you perhaps don't have that connection with, that shared history. But I know that if I'd had somebody like me sat next to me or available, or I had the content that we brought, that I'd have done that in probably 3 or 4 years or 5 years.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't have made so many mistakes. So it's really about giving that. It's just like an arm around the shoulder, saying, "Yeah, we've all been there, we've all done it, and this is how to deal with it." But real life, this is how to deal with it. This specifically, and that will solve it, rather than some oblique kind of guidance.
Yeah. Life planning and lifestyle financial planning is still looked at by a lot of financial advisors. It's not quite for them. I don't know whether there's some baggage that comes with it, and that is neither George Kinder's fault, nor is it Paul Armson's, and neither is it Maria Nemeth's. But there's something about it. You, I take it then, believe that the people who are looking for a service like yours are the ones who are either already embracing life planning or plan to, or perhaps your proposition makes it more appealing to them?
Yeah, well, there's 4 strands of partner that we take on from 4 different backgrounds. So there are those that are already authorized. They've already got their own firm. They've gone on their own. They're directly authorized, or perhaps they're with a network, and they have a business, but they're wanting to either migrate to a lifestyle financial planning process, and they see our service is a great way to do that, or they want us for the business aspects that come with it, that they don't want to employ their own paraplanners or their own client support, because it might not be worthwhile. They might not have enough work for a full-time paraplanner, and it makes it quite attractive for them to use the PlanHappy ones. So there's those. Then there's those people we were just talking about, where they're qualified, they've got CAS status as an advisor, they're working in a firm, and it's just not gelling. There's a disconnect between what they want to do and what they're allowed to do. That's a very febrile area of the market now. And those guys, we help them through their FCA authorization, and then they can go and set up on their own. But then there's 2 further streams. There's an awful lot of people out there that are qualified, because we actually have an awful lot of paraplanners that follow stuff that we put out, and compliance professionals for that matter. So there's a lot of people who are qualified, they've got the diploma, but they're not advisors, so they haven't got the CAS status. So there's a barrier there. They can't go directly authorized, because obviously the FCA expects you to have some experience first. So we have a CAS program. Because we are also a regulated firm, we can bring them on as CAS, so our CAS program, so they kind of effectively piggyback onto us as a trainee for regulatory purposes. They still follow the full process that we lay out and enjoy all the benefits of it. Still their firm, their brand, their clients. We're not a network. We don't take a percentage of revenue or anything like that. It's all flat fees for all the services that you use. And that gives them that bridge between being qualified to starting on their own. And a really interesting part of the market that we're working with now is the unqualified, people who just aren't in the profession at all. And what we do for them is we put them through their qualifications. It might take a year, 18 months to get the level 4, and then they can move into the CAS program, and then they can move in and get their own direct authorization. And in our sister firm, our IFA firm, Johnson Rhodes, that's the only way that we recruit financial planners now. Right. We do not recruit anybody with any financial planning experience or financial advice experience. We always go out fresh to the market, and we go for career changes.
Okay.
It's normally people in 30s, 40s, maybe, probably got a professional career, but have reached that point in your life where what you thought you wanted to do at 20 is different than what you want to be doing at 35. And we assist them in retraining. And I tell you what, Phil, it's so much easier to take something fresh without any existing kind of preconditions or preconceptions and train them in the way, because they just accept it as normal. So to them, having come from being a school teacher to being a financial planner, a lifestyle financial planner, if you then sat them down and tried to pitch just doing financial advice in isolation, they would be like, well, that's madness. That's why. How can you do that? Whereas, to come back to your point, when you've got existing financial advisors who are hardwired into that, transaction, it's quite a leap for them to accept that there's additional layers that they can also be adding on to their service. And like I said, the whole world just kind of sucks them back, keeps them locked in.
Are you seeing any common themes then amongst those that are going with you?
Well, clearly the lifestyle financial planning aspect, because if people watch the stuff that we put out, it's all about lifestyle financial planning. So if you haven't bought into that, then you're not going to buy into the service that we provide. So the common theme is that they want to do it a better way, dare I say. They want to offer those additional services and do full lifestyle financial planning. And to come to your point that you made, that sometimes it's a tough sell to the existing advisor base, I think some of them recoil from it because they see it as kind of touchy-feely, a bit out there, and I think George Kinder, being the personality that he is, I think he's Californian, isn't he? And kind of like a wispy figure, and kind of
he's straight out Lord of the Rings.
the spiritual side to it, I think, to a lot of belt and braces advisors in Yorkshire are like, oh bloody hell, what are you going on about all that for, lad? And so I don't think that helps us particularly. And we're much more in the middle ground, saying, look, you're dealing with, I used to recoil at these things where they have these grand opening questions, So they say, well, you sit with a client and your first opening question may be, what does money mean to you?
Yes, yeah.
And it's like, oh, come on, I dare you to go into a 2 up, 2 down in Middlesbrough and say that to the miner. Or the welder,
exactly.
It's just not in the real world. But what you can say to him is, all right, Dave, how's it going? Look, when you do knock it on the head, what do you see yourself doing? Oh, well, I'd love to do this. I'd love to do that. It's the same.
Yes. But, I remember, and again, sorry to interrupt, I remember actually going around the UK at one point. We're doing some introduction to lifestyle financial planning workshops. And when you strip away the apparent Americanisms in it, it's human interactions. It's giving people just a chance to think about what you got in your mind, simple stuff.
The irony is that the old school advisors, I started my career at Royal London in 2001, and they'd just been taken off the road by the FCA, well, the FSA as it was back then, because the FSA's argument was you can't demonstrate that you know your clients. Now, the way these old home service companies used to work was you had a round, and it was the area that you lived in.
Yes.
So all of these customers, you lived within 100 yards of them. You went to school with most of them. That was your round for 40 years. There was not one aspect of their life that you didn't know, because every week you were physically going to their house to collect monies, and you would have a little chat. How's Johnny? Yes. How's work going? How's little Sid? Oh, he's 16. Is he right? You need a pension. Let me get you signed up for a pension, lad. And yes, there was some abuse within that, but that system was deemed to be, you don't know your client because you don't have a written A4 fact find.
Sure.
And that's why they were taken off the road. And so the point is, we're back. We're back there now. In the what they were doing back then, they didn't know the client. They didn't know the hopes and dreams of their clients because they
Yeah.
spoke to them every day. And it was a very human process. The technical stuff was, suitability reports weren't a thing back then. And we're kind of having to trudge through the sludge of transactions and regulation and compliance to get back to the promised land of lifestyle financial planning, which is, really just that, but
Yeah.
modernized for the 21st century.
Yeah. So I'm a financial advisor then. I'm working for a firm. Um, it's a nice enough firm. They treat me well, all that good stuff. But I do feel because I can see the world on LinkedIn and in Live Talk and all the rest of it, I can see how other financial advisors are doing things. And I'm beginning to think, yeah, maybe doing my own thing is the way forward. I hear about you guys. I hear you've got a business in a box, which I think is a beautifully simple way of putting it out there. Really clever, because our profession, our wider industry, has made such a pig's ear about how it presents itself. Anyway, over the years, um, what's in the box that I need to know about?
Okay. So to go through practically, like I say, it's a full client process, software system, compliance, it's everything. You are there to deliver the financial plan to the clients and everything else is provided for you. So it's like having 4 or 5 staff in your office, but it's your business. This is the key difference. It's not a network where you're kind of signing your soul away a little bit because effectively the network's got your client rights and all that kind of stuff, and your revenue's being funneled through somewhere else. It's nothing like that at all. It's your business, it's your FCA authorization, it's your branding. We just sit in the background, and our software will have all your branding on it. And in the bottom right-hand corner, it says "Powered by PlanHappy." Now, that's about as much, as in the client space as we ever are. And I've got a business in the Northeast, an IFA business. We've got about 60 staff within that. We've built that over the years. I basically took everything that we do with that and put it into a box and systemized it so that anybody can use that. And now our IFA business we refer to as partner number 1. They're the first customer, or they were the first customer. So not only are we providing the service, but we've also got a company that's using the service.
Yes.
Yeah. So the answer I would give if they're looking to make a change is, well, first thing is get yourself along to one of our discovery days. Where we walk you through it. It's a morning. We have a bit of lunch afterwards. I turn up for a bit of a Q&A with everybody, and our full team will walk you through exactly what's in the box and how it all works, what the charges are, everything you could possibly want to know. You get to see, and you get to come up and you get to see our existing firm, so you can kind of touch and feel and see all the guys. You can talk to planners, paraplanners, client support that are working in a partner firm. So really just to take that mystery out of it, and you can get those, ask those questions that you really want to ask. That's absolutely step one, and I would recommend doing that very early. Even if you're just thinking about it, just come along. And it might be another year or 2 whilst it ferments before you make any big decisions, but that's the starting point. The other thing that's worth mentioning is, if you've got 4 advisors in a firm and you're the one that's pushing for lifestyle financial planning, but the other guys aren't, you can just on your own just use PlanHappy. It doesn't mean that everybody in your firm has to subscribe to the PlanHappy way of doing things. You might say, well, I'm going to do that. Now, yes, your clients would then be on the PlanHappy system. And you can't cross-pollinate, the two, but you can run it in isolation in a business. So, that needn't be a barrier to giving things a go.
My head might be thinking, okay, I'm in quite a controlled environment right now. I have to follow all these processes. Yes, I hear exciting things about new models, what have you, at conferences and what have you, but I just can't do it. Is that fear of control likely? In other words, are people likely to think, "Will I lose control by using your system in whatever direction?"
Yeah, it's a good question. You hear this a lot from network guys. They say, "Look, I'm restrained. I'm forced to do it a certain way by the network, and I don't like that."
Right.
Now, when you dig deeper with this, it's not the fact that they're forced to do it a certain way. It's not the fact that they have to follow a process that they're particularly bothered about. It's the fact that they don't like the process that they're being asked to follow because they don't agree with it, because it's counterintuitive to how they want to act on their client's behalf. We hear this a lot. I want to do this for my client because I think this will be best for my client, but the systems, processes, and controls in the network or whatever won't allow me to do that. They force me to do something else. So there's a
Right.
disconnect. Yeah. So process in itself isn't the issue. It's what the process is advocating. So yes, PlanHappy is a process, but it's a lifestyle financial planning process. It's a process of the right way to do things.
Right.
So if you're feeling constrained by these processes and networks because you feel there's a disconnect between what they're giving you and what you want to deliver, then the PlanHappy will give you a process that is aligned with what you want to deliver. And of course, it only works if we all follow the process. If
Yeah.
you want to go and do it your own way, then absolutely fine. But you don't need us then. You can just go and start your own firm and do
So,
that.
is there enough flexibility in the process for a firm that perhaps would like to have more leaning towards the coaching side than the planning side? One model I am seeing being developed is advisors really saying, right, there is no advice gap. We will find a way to serve um, anybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm just wondering, for those that are thinking a bit more entrepreneurial, maybe they want to start an online community around their brand, maybe they want to do some courses and some coaching. Will they still fit?
Yeah, absolutely. They can do all of that. In fact, we would encourage them to do so. A
Right.
lot of the marketing support we give them is working with our marketing team. And some of the guys from our marketing team, you know how good they are. They're giving them the benefits of 20, 30 years experience in
Yeah.
marketing for financial advice and financial planning business. And I'm a great proponent of the fact that the financial planner doesn't need to be the financial advisor as well. So we're seeing this more and more in firms where you might just have somebody who just does the financial planning meetings, and then the financial advisor comes in and does it's all connected, it's all part of the
Yes.
same
Yes.
process, but you don't have to do both of those
Yeah. So
roles.
somebody can have a bit more of the regulatory stuff, and you can have
Yeah,
more of the
absolutely.
unregulated
Yeah,
stuff.
and we're seeing a bit more of that, and yes, there is the full range. I mean, there's a built-in platform as well. You're not obliged to use it. You can use your own platform, but it's a
Yeah.
built-in platform. There's a built-in model portfolios and DFM. Again, you don't have to use it, but it's all built in there if you want to use that. All of the compliance stuff's built in. Your Gabriel reports are done automatically. You press a button, it just prints it out. You type it in. It's and that's only possible because we've got this great process. But it's
Yeah.
a process
Yeah.
with
And you have a lifestyle financial planning process as well.
yes.
Is there a model that you're following, or is it one that you'd use because you've used it and it works? How does that work?
But it's something that I developed over 10, 15 years of working with clients from that very first, experience I spoke about a little earlier.
Yeah.
Um, I was an engineer in a previous life, so my brain likes to build processes and systems.
Straight
And
lines.
yeah, so over the years I started building it, and then I started documenting it and saying, actually, this is the best way to work this meeting. And I'm coming across this situation a lot with the clients. So let's develop a tool for how we deal with those situations. And it just started to take form. And then when we started employing planners from scratch in our own IFA practice, then I had to document it all because that's what they were trained on. So that's
Yeah.
why I
Yeah.
started doing
Yeah.
videos of everything that I did. And we built that. Then we started making it accessible to other firms because other advisors I would bump into at a conference or whatever would say, "Oh, I'd love to have access to that. Can I have it?" So we started selling it. We allowed
Yeah.
people to buy
Yeah.
the process just in its own right for them to integrate into their own business. And then as we grew, and then we developed the software and we developed all the paraplanning services and the compliance and the platform, and then we put it all together and said, actually, this is just one
Yeah.
business in a box. It's
Yeah.
all of the components, and we know all of the components are there because we run our own very successful firm on
Yeah.
exactly the same system as
Yeah.
any of the other partners would be on.
That's really interesting. Whenever I've seen you online, you've got a whiteboard next to you. And I think, am I right? That's part of of what you kind of recommend to people? Because one of the
Yeah.
questions I see come up time and time again in live talk is what tablet do people use, and what do you use to hook up with clients' TVs?
Yeah.
It all gets a bit clunky.
Yeah, I'm quite outspoken on this. Now, bear in mind that I own and run a financial service technology business. We
Yeah,
employ
yeah.
lots of developers. I spend most of my days with the developers,
No,
developing software.
yeah,
So I am not some technophobe that's just old school and doesn't think it should be in there. And I've tried tech in there. The point is, if you're doing a financial planning or a life coaching meeting, That is a human conversation,
Yeah.
human session. And your job as a planner is to read the client, to see what they can't see for themselves, about themselves, to probe, to be curious, to challenge. And that's a very human process that you can only do eyeball to eyeball.
Yeah.
Because clients often don't tell you the truth at the outset when you ask questions. They're not deliberately lying, they just fear being judged. So we do it all the time in social situations. And in a coaching capacity, your job is to see when that's happening and to dig where you need to dig until you get the client to open up. And I always say you should be sending the client away at the end of your session knowing a little bit more about themselves than before they came. And if you can do that, you've delivered a great coaching session.
Mm-hmm.
And that is entirely human. The moment you bring a laptop out and put a laptop on the table, everybody in that room is now looking at the laptop. You're no longer looking at yourselves, you're looking at each other, you're looking at the laptop. Mm. And we now believe the answer is in the laptop. Because why would you have got it out if the answer is not in the laptop? The answer is not in the laptop. The answer is in their heart and in their mind. And you've got to go in there and find it for them or help them find it for themselves. And that's a human process. So that's why we use whiteboards to keep the technology out of the room, because we believe that should be a very human process. Now, out of the room, once you finish that, it's all tech. It's tech that helps build the reports, do the recommendations, all that kind of stuff, the cash flow modeling. But then it gets printed out as beautiful paper, A3 sketchpad style booklets for you to present to the client. So when we are presenting technical information, as we still need to do, you're doing that in a much more organic and controllable way rather than putting something on a screen, cash flow model. And if you do live cash flow modeling, what happens then is the client starts saying, well, what if we move this here and move that there? And in the same way as your architect doesn't come to your house and bring their CAD software and invite you to move walls and windows. What they do is they listen to you, they get a sense of what you're trying to do, and they go away and they come back with caricatures almost of different concepts to challenge you, to see what you like, what you don't like, when you're presented with new things. And if you bring tech in and do live cash flow, you immediately limit the conversation to a small box based on what it already looks like. And now we're just moving stuff around and we're not seeing this over here and that over there.
Yeah. This process, are there some good consequences that are not unexpected, but do surprise some people? I remember George Kinder saying that with his process, he said he would pick up referrals and introductions after the first meeting.
Yeah, we get that a lot.
Do you?
Yeah. Referrals just go through the roof, because when you make that connection with people, that human connection, and they trust you, and they trust you for the right reasons, then people want you to look after other members of their family and their work colleagues. They will actively go out of their way. And especially, I talk about this a lot, that normally within a couple, normally you're dealing with a couple when you're doing financial planning, one tends to be more technical and one tends to be a bit more holistic. That's right. Normally how couples tend to go together. And if you think about couples that you could probably put that label on each of the people within it. Now, if you're doing financial advice, it's the technical one that will respond to that, because that's a technical conversation about pensions and investments and rates of return and tax. That's all for the technical person. When you deliver great lifestyle financial planning, you start to make more of a connection with the holistic one, because you're talking about what do you want for your family, what do you want for your children, and they come alive. And then you're binding to them as well at that point. So you've got a far more robust relationship with both parties, and the holistic one is far more likely to recommend you than the technical one.
Interesting. Yeah.
So by doing that, and you get that, I can't remember the exact stats, I won't give them out in case they're wrong, but a significant proportion of our business, and bear in mind we have a healthy marketing budget, but a significant proportion of our business comes from referrals.
And anything that the process can do that will increase the likelihood of referrals is to be welcomed. Generally speaking, most advisors say, we get referrals. It tends to be our main source. But when I ask them again, would you like some more? There's always, there's a feeling of we get some, but nothing like enough. And that's largely because the process, and I've always advocated that part of the process of engaging with a client is to build a skill where you start to spot those moments in the meeting when the
Yeah, yeah.
client is expressing value.
Yes. Yeah.
And it can be simple bits of body language where they're just nodding, or things like, "Oh, that's a weight off my mind." Those are the moments, and if the process you have helps to uncover more of those moments, then that's absolutely fabulous.
I'm just making a note there because your question there, you said about any unintended good consequences. Another one is, I think, to go back to the conversation about financial advisors fretting about lifestyle financial planning and maybe not buying into it, is because sometimes they see it as something different, something separate to
Yeah,
financial advice.
and a
And
bit
it's not.
American.
Yeah, it's not. It's a part of giving financial advice. It's the first stage within the advice process, but they say it as something separate. And the irony is, when you develop a lifestyle plan, or if you follow the PlanHappy lifestyle financial planning process, we train you how to guide your clients away from the technical questions and onto the human questions,
Yeah,
and to engage that human element. So then the technical stuff fades into the background. That's what we're trying to achieve because we want those human conversations. And then when you go through the process, and bear in mind, you've seen the client, 2, 3, 4 times throughout the whole process. As you go through, when it comes to the financial advice bit at the end, when it comes to going to the builders merchants, you no longer have that thing you often have as a financial advisor where you're fighting to get an individual piece of business. Give me your ISA to look after, or, can I do this with your pension? And the client might say, well, I'll give you this, but I'm not going to give you that. You don't have any of that because you present the plan, which is there to produce the life outcomes that they so desire. And you're saying, this is what we need to do. This will give you all of those life outcomes. Oh, and by the way, here are the transactions that are going to be needed.
yeah, yeah,
Yes or no? And the client says, yeah, I want that plan.
yeah,
So they buy the plan because they've already bought into the process which led to the plan, and they know that it's based around their human lifestyle. And they're now thinking about the holiday next year they can now do, and the time with the children and all these things. They're no longer focused on arguing over fees and charges. And so the less you talk about financial products, the more financial product business you will actually write.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, and then when it comes to charges as well, you're no longer horse trading on charges because they tend to just accept your charges for what they are because their focus is no longer there. The
Yeah.
focus is on the plan,
Interesting.
the
So
human
on
element.
the topic of charges, how does it work with you guys? How do people pay for this?
Yeah. So we, as part of to deal first with the client fee, i.e. what does a partner planner charge their client? That's entirely up to them. But we give
Okay.
them a framework. We say, look, this is what works for us. This is our charging structure that we recommend that you use. But hey, change it, adjust it. It can be a percentage, it can be a flat fee, you can charge an hourly
Whatever.
rate.
Yeah.
You do that however you want. When it comes to our services, it's all flat fee. So
Okay.
you pay a small subscription per month for the use of the software and just being part of the PlanHappy partnership service. You find your client, you put your client on the system once they've engaged, and we charge you a flat rate fee for running the entire case, and it's a flat
Okay.
rate for all cases. So whether there's that much work to do or that much work to do, it's a flat rate fee.
Sure.
You don't pay that until it's 12 weeks after, so you've got plenty of time to get paid by
Okay.
the client before you're paying us. And then that's it for the financial. That includes all the power planning work, all the discovery work, everything that you need to take that client from the first meeting through to them agreeing to the financial plan and you getting paid for that. Naturally, after that, there may well be some transactions to do, perhaps some pension switches or some investments or whatever it happens to be. So our power planners will help you make those recommendations. They'll all be included in the booklets. And when the client goes ahead with them, they're just keyed onto our system. And again, we charge quite a small flat rate fee for each transaction. And we'll do the suitability report for it. We'll process the transaction. Like I say, you can put on on the built-in platform where you've got a few external options, and that's all. If you've got any specialist business like equity release, perhaps you don't have the permissions for, or a defined benefit advice, then we can take those as referrals and we'll work as you, if you like, with
Okay.
your clients. So there's no gaps in the process there. So that's pretty much it for the charges. You're
Yeah.
just you're paying for what you use, and it's a flat rate fee.
And so presumably there's like a back office system that advisors log into, and what do they see in there?
Yeah. So you've got the PlanHappy portal, as it's called. This is my pride and joy. And yeah, that runs the whole shebang. So it's full back office,
Yeah.
full client management, all of the transaction processing, all of the revenue management, revenue reconciliation, Gabriel reporting, client records, tasks, calendars, automated communications, document storage, absolutely everything that's needed to run your business is built into the
So
software.
that's what you,
exactly the
that's
same
why you
system.
call it a business in a box. Yeah.
It's everything. And I keep coming back to the point, but you know, our business, which is a reasonable size for the Northeast for a lifestyle financial planning firm, the Northeast isn't a hotbed for lifestyle financial planning. You know, we've built to quite a size. So we run quite a large firm using the exact same software. So you get your own branded version of it. It's got your logo on it and your color scheme. And it's got a client portal, I should mention as well. So your clients can log in and see it and interact with you and all that kind of stuff. And then we share access to it. So let's say you create a case, you're dealing with Mr. and Mrs. Smith and you're running a case, and the paraplanner will get allocated to it and the client support will get allocated to it, and you're on it as a paraplanner, as a planner, sorry. You can all log in and see the case and chat to each other.
Yeah.
So the paraplanner might put a message on saying, oh, just in this case, I've noticed this pension's got a guaranteed annuity rate. You know, we're going to need to do this. And the client support might put a note and say, no problem, I'll give them a call. Are you okay with that? You know, planner, can I give your client a call and just check this? And you might put a comment on saying, yeah, absolutely sure, no problem. Right. So it's that collaboration. It's like working with other people in your office. But you're
let's say I decide I've had a chat with you, I've had a bit of a demonstration. How long typically does it take for, I know everyone's different, but for someone joining, buying this, to kind of get up to speed and it feels like normal?
Yeah, it depends which of those 4 strands you come on, whether you're qualified or not all right the way through to authorized. Let's assume that you're already authorized. The FCA application process is 6 to 9 months. We all know that. So if you need FCA authorization before you start, you've naturally got that. But beyond that, it's really how fast you can get through the accreditation. So when you join, you come up to PlanHappy HQ and you spend a couple of weeks with us and you learn all of the systems, you learn everything, we give you all that training. And at the end of that, you're signed off or accredited, as we call it. And then you would go back with your marketing plan that marketing you develop, you've got your website built, that
feeling enthused
and all that. Yeah. And off you go. And you're up and running. So it could be a matter of weeks from joining to being ready to put your first case through.
Fabulous. So someone is interested, what's the logical next steps for them to take?
Yeah, go to the website, planhappy.co.uk. There's a whole host of information on there. Lots of videos with my ugly mug on it for you to view. But within that, I think it's pretty much on every page, you can book a call or you can book directly onto a discovery day. We run them every month from PlanHappy HQ. I would strongly recommend you come up for the discovery day. Even if, to be honest, even if you're not really that interested in a PlanHappy partnership, if you're a financial advisor or a financial planner and you can go into another firm and have a good route around and see exactly how it is, it's worth the morning of your time. So I would strongly recommend you come to the discovery day. But if you've got specific questions that you want answering, then you can book a call with one of our colleagues through the website, and they'll have a chat with you and answer any particular questions that you have. But we do tend to encourage you, look, come to the discovery day, because all of the team are there. They all take a turn presenting, and we walk you through from start to finish exactly how it works, exactly what it looks like. There's a Q&A. You get to meet other people who are considering as well and chat between yourselves. Like I said, meet me, whether that's a bonus or not, I don't know. And come away with a lot of stuff.
I think you've come up with a blinder here, really, because as I said, within Life Talk, I see these conversations so often. I'm thinking of doing this. I'm not sure whether this is any good. What do people think about this network, that firm, joining that national? And yet you're coming up with a way. I said, well, we've built what you need to do, and you still got the control.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and when you think about it, networks, there's always that insinuation that people feel constrained. It's not really my business. I know it isn't really in a regulatory sense. DA can be scary, and I've got to go on my own. And yes, I can hire in a paraplanner and I can use a compliance service provider, but it's still scary because I'm still fumbling through working out how to pull all that together. or I can join a national where I'm going to be even more constrained, and it's definitely not going to be my business, but I might get more support with branding and brand
Yeah,
recognition
yeah,
and a client bank. So there's no perfect solution out of any of those three. People tend to go with the best fit. And the worse than that, in each of those three, none of them really support lifestyle financial planning. So
mm,
what PlanHappy does, it introduces that middle ground where we're saying, look, we're giving you a lot of the support you would expect from a network, but without taking a share of your revenue or having your authorization through us.
yeah.
And we're also adding on all of the compliance support services, the paraplanning support, the client support, all of your staffing, and we're allowing you to do, not allowing, facilitating a lifestyle financial planning process, which is what you really want to do. So you're not
Yeah.
fighting against the tide, in another
Yeah,
organization or
yeah.
another structure trying to deliver what you want. It's all,
And you train them how to do lifestyle because there might well be some that say the idea of a business, ready-made business in a box sounds good to me, but I'm not sure I like the life planning bit.
if they don't like the lifestyle financial plan, they're probably not on our website to start with,
Okay.
because they probably listen to what I say and thought, he's a nut job. I don't agree with what he says. Um, that said, I would always encourage anybody to come up for a discovery day and give me the chance to change your mind.
Mm.
And the lifestyle financial planning process and the guide, like I said, there's an academy. So it breaks down every meeting down into modules. All of the collateral that you require is all built for you. And literally, I walk you through it step by step. This is how to run your first meeting. These are the objections you might get. These are the hurdles you might get. These are the tools that you use to get over each of those objections. This is the tool to deal with all of those. It's been forged through decades of experience.
Yeah, yeah,
It goes right way through. So, like I said, I think there's about 300 modules, which sounds scary, but they're only a few minutes long each.
sure.
And like I say, we've trained well over 100 people just in our local firm using that process who've come in, plumbers. One guy was a Michelin-starred chef, one of the guys who's a planner there now, who've come in, 30s, 40 years old,
Yeah,
and just through that and support around it, have learned how to do lifestyle financial planning and go in and deliver it.
yeah. Sounds fantastic. Neil, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. And hope we talk again. Good luck with it all. 10 years hard work, all pulling in to this launch. Absolutely brilliant. So thanks a lot. We'll talk soon.
Thank you, Phil. Take
Take
care.
care.